Hey guys, I promised my mother that I would do a video about my situation with domestic violence, and I think I also told one of my very dear friends that I would as well, because ending in October is also Domestic Violence Awareness Month, as Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and I don't want to act like I'm not concerned about the struggle that people go through with that, but fortunately, and I've been blessed that no one in my family has struggled with that, and I really don't know anyone who has, and I'm blessed in that way. And I just want to say that, strength and, the peace to those people who are dealing with that, because I don't want to make it seem like I don't care about that issue. Just my personal situation for October with domestic violence awareness is that I have been in an abusive relationship. So I was in a relationship with a man for 5 years, us living together, and us not, back and forth. Us still, he was saying we were trying to work it out, but he started another relationship like a couple of months after we broke up and was hiding it from me for a while. But I have 4 kids by my first husband, and they're not his. However, they were living in the house with us when I was in this relationship. He was physically, verbally, emotionally, spiritually abusive. He was a very seductive person. He was very intelligent. I am a person that you would call a pseudo-sexual. I'm attracted to people's intelligence, not so much, you don't have to be super fine. That's not who I am. I'm not that shallow. I'm look more to your character and who you are and your mind, and because you could be fine, but what's that gonna give me? How are you gonna help me to be productive in my life? Because I believe as a woman that my place is to be a helpmeet to a man. I'm very strong and independent, but I have no problem submitting to somebody who's worthy of that. If you show me that you're a leader and you can do this, I'm going to help you build an empire. That's just who I am. I think the thing I want to touch on so much is not so much as what happened, just the fact that that I was in one. The fact that I hear a lot of people, they have a certain idea of what type of woman they think is in an abusive relationship. And I'm not saying this trying to be arrogant or just not arrogant at all. I'm not ugly, so, in my case and a lot of people that I do know as well, I know several women that have been in abusive relationships. They're attractive women, they're intelligent women, they're educated women, they're hustlers, they're good mothers. They are, they're everything that you would want a woman to be. Because I think what people don't understand about abusive men is most of them, there's a lower percentage of those that are like extremely successful, but a lot of these guys, they're looking for somebody to take care of them, outside of just controlling them. There's different levels to the abuse, whether you have money about what type of abuse goes on, and they feel like you're privileged, so you have to deal with the stuff that goes on. And then you have other people that are, trying to make it, and they're wanting somebody to support them, and they use women as stepping stones to get to where they want to be, and they prey on women that they feel are weak minded, not in the sense that you don't know what's going on, but and when I say weak minded, I'm not saying that the woman is, okay. The women that I know and myself, I'm very opinionated. Anybody that knows me, I speak my mind. I'm gonna say how I feel because that's the way I was brought up. You know, I truly believe when God says fear no man, that's what he means, and I don't. I'm not scared of anybody, nor was I scared of this man the entire time we were together. I was just more, because let me say this, I was never in an abusive relationship prior to this, and nor have I been since. I used to always say, girl, if I was you, I wouldn't do this and that. You know, I had my opinions on what I also thought abused women was or is until I was in one for myself. My grandmother was abused her entire marriage, married to a man for 50 some years, was beating her. My mother and her siblings. I didn't grow up in that type of household. My mother and father, I've never seen them fight to this day. My father is very quiet, and he's very, he treats my mother the way he's supposed to. You know, he takes care of her. She's always worked and she's always been a hustler, but, you know, he loves my mama, you know, and I know that without a shadow of a doubt. Like, that is his, you know, partner, life partner. They share everything, you know, and he respects my mother. I've never even heard him raise his voice at my mother. So this is not the environment that I grew up in. Even though I seen my grandmother going through this, my mama wasn't going through it. My father is a good man, you know, and he does what a man's supposed to do. He's always had a job. He's always taking care of business. And he always set a good example for me and my brothers. So, and my ex-husband never put his hands on me. And we argue, but not the way that this relationship was. The abuse was slow, and you know, he made sure that I was all in before he ever put his hands on me. And I remember the first time he did it, I literally threw up. Like, my mind could not deal with the fact that the person that I love just choked the shit out of me. Like, I didn't understand what was going on. And I made a promise to my grandmother that I would never be in an abusive relationship, ever. And I really hid it from her for a long time because I was embarrassed and I felt like I was letting her down. I didn't want to tell my mother because she grew up watching that. So, like, anytime this incident would happen, he would never do it when my kids were home. He was very smart. And he never punched me like a dude. And I'm not making no excuses for anything he did. And I'm also not going to mention any names because he is married now and he's a different person. He's not the same anymore. He was on drugs at the time. And I didn't notice it because when I first met him, he was hustling and he had a lot of money. And so I didn't notice like how bad his drug habit was. It wasn't until he had stopped hustling for a period of time and didn't have as much money that I noticed, like, why you don't have no money? Like, where's all your money going to? So then I kind of slowly figured it out. When it kind of be like, whenever he wanted to go get high, he would start arguing with me, and that would be his reason for going to get high because I done made him mad or something like that. But he would always pick a fight. He was very smart, and it still is. He's a super intelligent person. Like, we would have conversations for hours, you know, from everything from sports to religion, you know, like whatever. And he, of course, apologized after the incident. And his way of apologizing to me every time that he put his hands on me was going to buy me something. Jewelry, leather coats, bags, you know. And then he would get mad if I wasn't wearing them. So but he didn't understand, like, that made it worse because every time I put the jewelry on or carried the bag or put the coat on, it was like, it would feel so heavy. It was like a constant reminder of that particular situation, what happened for this piece of jewelry or this whatever. And my friends always used to tell me, like, girl, I wish my man would do this and I would be like, you have no idea what I went through behind this ring or this necklace or this bracelet or this. Dooney Burke purse, or whatever, because he would make sure that he wasn't cheap. He would always go buy expensive stuff for me. And I started noticing patterns, like whenever he was about to start acting up, it's like, let me go take you on a date. Because he always wanted to go to the movies. That was our thing. So, it's like I started noticing the pattern, the cycle. And when we met, I believe he thought that I was weak, but I was very tired. Going through a relationship with my kid's dad and that ending and us not being together anymore, because we were married for 10 years. So I think what he thought was I was just a weak person, but little did he know that wasn't me. And I remember him telling me in the beginning that if he didn't know what to do with me because he couldn't figure me out. But he told me one time, he said, once I figure you out, it's going to be a wrap. And once he did, it was. Because he figured out that I was loyal, that I'm a very say what you mean what you say type person. You get what you give. Like, if I give you my word, I'm going to stand by that. Like, I'm very forgiving. I have a very strong relationship with God. Like, all of these things, like he would play on all of that. He would tell me, like, if it's in your nature to forgive, so it's easy for you to do it, but it's not for me because I'm not used to that. And he had a, story where his mama, she was on drugs, and his granny raised him most of his life, and she was locked up a few times, and they had a relationship, but he was closer to his grandmother than he was to his mama. And he has a little sister. And not only was he abusive to me, he was abusive to everybody. So I didn't feel like he was singling me out. If you got out of line with him, you was going to have to deal with his wrath. His uncles, his auntie, his mama, his sister, his friends, random people, it really didn't matter. So, and he didn't lie to me, and I'm real big on tell the truth. If you keep it 100 with me, I could deal with a lot of stuff. So, and I'm not the type of woman that I don't know my value or my worth, or I don't know what I deserve. And I think that was one of the biggest problems in him dealing with me, is because you're not going to tell me that you did something wrong and make me believe that it's my fault. And because I would be like, no, you're not going to say that. No, that's not how that happened. It would lead him to become even more angry. And I wasn't scared of him. I was just like hurt. Like, I didn't grow up seeing that. And I didn't believe that someone that loves you, that you lay down with, would put their hands on you. And this went on when in our first house, like, when I first finally decided to fight him back, he got mad because I hit him back and was angry with me and threw me across the room and dislocated my shoulder. I had to go to the hospital. The hospital called CPS on me for, it's not child endangerment, but it's something like neglect of a child or something. I can't remember exactly what it was. And I was really upset because I felt like that was so unfair, that this man beat me up and now y'all are taking my kids from me. And he felt really bad because he knows how much I love my children and how close we are. But that was kind of the beginning of the end for us. Because that was like right when we were moving out of that house. And then, like, when I tell you this dude, like, he cut up my clothes, he broke the window out of my car, like, he would always tell me if I left him, he was going to kill me. Like, just the crazy stuff that dudes say girls do to them. I've never done that. I don't do that. But I've had that stuff done to me. So I left, went to my mother's house and stayed there with her and my kids. And then eventually I got another house and we moved back in together. And we had an understanding that in this new house, you're not going to put your hands on me anymore. Because we had got into an altercation on New Year's Eve. We had both went over to his cousin's house. And we got into a fight. I left him there. And he was calling me. I wanted to get my stuff from his grandmother's house. And he was holding my stuff hostage. He wouldn't let me get my stuff. And then eventually I went back over. I think it took me about 2 weeks. He kept saying, I got something for you. And again, he had got me a ring, saying that he wasn't going to put his hands on me anymore. Because I told him if he did, that was going to be the last time he would see me. So he stopped. It's amazing to me that now, since I'm fighting you back and I'm giving you an ultimatum that if you put your hands on me again, I'm going to leave. So he stopped. So he transitioned from, he was breaking stuff before, but now it become more frequent. You're punching holes in walls, breaking TVs, breaking furniture. Instead of putting your hands on me, you're breaking stuff, which is still, I'm having to replace stuff. But like I said, a lot of this too was, and he was using powder at the time, really heavy. So he finally, before we got ready to separate, had said that I had been asked him, I told him a couple of times, like, you need to go to rehab or we're going to break up. And that didn't work. So I just stopped. And then one day he had told me, I think he had been out and getting high for a couple of days. And then I was getting ready to go to work and he said, hey, when you come home, I need to go somewhere because I can't keep living like this. And I was like, okay. I was surprised because I had been praying that God would please do something like this man. Like, I love him and I want him to stop drugs and putting his hands on me. I'm thinking that if I just stay there and I be the good, woman, that he's going to change. And they put him on medication, and he kind of seen that it was going to change. But one of the medications was giving him like restless leg syndrome or something. So it was making him real irritable. And then he finally realized, like, okay, well, I don't need the medication, because it's like something clicked to him, like, okay, well, so, I can get my mind right. And he stopped using for a while, but he was still abusive. Like, I didn't know this at the time, but he had other relationships going on while we were together. So a lot of that too was, I'm not down with a lot of stuff that he wanted to do, like having another woman in our house and, this, that, and the third. And like, I'm not built for that. Hey, if that's the way you want to live, that's you, but I'm not down with that. But anyway, so we end up getting into an argument, and he was holding me down on the bed, and my oldest daughter came in and she was like, get off my mama. And I was looking at her and he's like, I'm not doing nothing to your mama. She said, I don't care. I said, get off my mama. And that moment right there was like, God, I need to get strong enough to leave him, because she wasn't ready for that. And he never did anything to my kids. He didn't ever really want to discipline them, because he felt like that was wrong. He never really fussed at them either. Like, I just knew that it was time to go, because I felt like she was having to be my protector, and I couldn't deal with that. If she ever went to do anything during an altercation, not that he ever did, and I never and he never did, would hit my kids, but I wasn't ready for that, and she wasn't either. So we end up getting into it. Like, I think he had been gone all night, and he came back. I had locked the door so he couldn't get in. And when he came home, I was telling him no, he needed to leave, go back wherever he was. And we got into it like really bad. And like the ring that he had got me, like I threw it and all this, that, and the third. And I think the police called, my neighbors called the police, and they came, and I asked my mother to come get the kids, and him and I were just there, and we were calm, and I was just like, it's time for us to stop this. I can't do this anymore. My son at the time was getting into it with girls at school, and like, this was really bothering me. I really felt like I was setting a bad example for my daughters of what type of man to choose or tolerate, and my son about what type of man to be, because he was 2 when I first met him, and my son was in 2nd, 3rd grade when we broke up. So he was calling his man daddy, and still does to this day. But that, we went on for like, I knew that me ending the relationship would probably end the relationship that he had with my children, because he's spiteful like that, or was. Even though they bonded to him as a father, he didn't see it that way because they weren't biologically his. But he did love them, but not the way that he should. So and there was still a lot of manipulation going on, trying to make me, you know, he told me that we needed to get back together, and I told him like we could be together, but we just couldn't live together. I just didn't feel like that was a good move. There was no way that we were going to work things out being up under each other. We were going to fall right back into the same routine. And he told me that if I wasn't going to let him come back to the house, that he was going to find somewhere else to go. So I was like, okay, that hurt me to hear that, but that was a chance I was going to have to take, because at that moment I felt like what was more important was me providing a more peaceful environment for my children to grow up in. And as much as it hurt me to let that relationship go, I had to make a choice for my daughters and for my son, because I didn't want my son growing up thinking it was okay to put his hands on women and call women out their name. I didn't want my daughters to feel like this was okay for you to be with this type of man. And it's so crazy to even know that I went through that, because before then it would have never happened, and since then it's not ever going to happen again. And the thing is, like, I believe that everything happens for a reason, and I believe it's even for this moment in time for me to tell you that you cannot change no man. I don't care how damaged he is, and the misunderstanding that these women are dumb or stupid is not the case. The case is that this woman loves this man so much that she feels like she's going to love him better, and you're not. You're not going to love him better. You're not going to change him. You're going to do any of that. All you're going to do is be dragged down and abused. That's all that's going to happen. Now, he's, like I said, he's married now and he's a changed person. He's not the same person, and I'm happy for him. And I think what you have to understand as a woman, that you're not for everybody, but there's somebody for everybody. And just because you like someone, or the sex is good, or you even love a person, that's not enough for you to stay with them. You have to have a complete understanding of this other person that you're with. And if somebody is damaged, until they can heal, you're not going to help the situation, and you're going to be hurt in the process, or even lose your life. Because I have a friend that was, before this relationship, the couple was a friend of mine, and she ended up losing her life, and she was shot and killed. He killed her. And he's in jail right now today. And again, beautiful woman, hardworking, intelligent, good mother, and she lost her life to a man that was supposed to love her. And I think the thing that women, we have to stop doing is thinking that you're going to fix a man being with him. You're not. He was that way when you met him. You didn't make him like that. It's not your fault. Because he would try to tell me, like, him being this way and doing drugs was like, he was doing drugs when I met him, and he was abusing women before I ever met him. So I'm not the reason you're this way. You're just this way. And I'm not saying that they can't change, but you being in the same household with that person is not going to help them. It's not. I mean, I believe that maybe you can separate and then he gets better, and then, I don't know how I feel about that situation, but I do know this. Him and I are friends, and I'm happy to see that he's changed. It makes me feel good to know that the person I love has changed their life, because I did love him very much. And to see that he's not the same person anymore makes me feel like my time there was well spent, because I'm strong enough to go through these type of things. And I'm not telling any woman to go through nothing. I'm just saying, for me and my personal experience, I know that me praying on this man, my mother praying on him, me voicing my opinion and standing up for myself, because he had told me, it was like, he remembered one time when we were fighting, and he was like, you weren't scared of me. He said, the look in your eye hurt me even more. It was like, you were just looking at me like, why are you doing this to me? I love you. Why are you doing this to me? And I didn't even say that to him. But I know there were a lot of times when he was doing that I felt that way, And I just want you women to know that, you're strong enough. You're worth not, because that's not right. A man putting his hands on you is not okay, and a lot of people say you're dumb and you're stupid, but And even I was one of those people too before I was in the situation said that. But don't nobody understand. But I'm telling you that no matter how much you love this man, you are not going to change him. Until he gets ready to change, until he changes, he's not going to change. So the best thing for you, for your peace of mind, and especially if you have children, is to leave, because you are setting a very wrong example to your children of a person to find, to love, of a person to accept, of a person to be, especially if you have boys and girls. It's the same on both sides. You're teaching your girls that it's okay to be in an abusive relationship. You're teaching your son that it's okay to be that type of man. And I had to have my youngest daughter and my son go through counseling after this, because he was very angry. He was abusing my youngest daughter. He had slapped her and hit her. And my youngest daughter was scared that every time I left the house that I was going to die, because she was scared that he was going to do something to me. Like, I had to go through with him because I caused this. I did this to my children because I put them in this situation. So I had to take responsibility. I had to save them. I don't care how much you love him, and it's going to hurt. It's going to hurt. But you need to leave. And, pray for him. Hopefully he'll get better. He never do this to another woman. Because that was my prayer, that God, if he never stops, and he always puts his hands on me to the end of the day that I leave him, because I knew it was wrong the entire time I was with him. But my prayer was that I would be the last woman that he ever put his hands on. Not in a way that I was going to kill him, but that somehow God would break that spirit off of his life for him to never do it again. And now he's married to somebody that has children that are not his, and he's being a good father. He's being a good husband, and he's a good friend. He's apologized to me so many times. I think every time I see him, he's always like, man, I'm so sorry. I wish I was the person I am now then. But I believe that everything happens for a reason, and I believe I was strong enough to go through that without being broken, without turning to drugs or turning into a hoe or whatever. I'm still intact. I'm still me. And I still believe in love. I still believe in life. I still believe in forgiveness. I still believe in people, because I made it through and I'm a survivor, and don't ever let anybody tell you you're weak, because you can't be weak and be in a situation like that. There's no way in the world. There's no way in the world. They know they're smart. They prey on strong women. They prey on women that are about something, because it's all about cover up. They don't want nobody to know that they're doing that. So they need a loyal woman that's not going to tell on them, that's going to hold them down and have their back and be their ride or die, because that's who you are. But they're using that against you, and know that. They're playing on the love that you have. They're playing on the forgiving woman that you are. They're playing on the fact that you're being loyal to them, because they know that they could beat your ass and you still going to stay right there. And I did it. I was faithful, and I worked every day. There were days that I was working at Chase. There were days that I would go to work and I had just got drugged. And I remember this girl told me one day, and everybody at the office knew that, like, she had all type of medication. Like, if you had a headache, and I'm talking about prescription drugs. And she told me one day, she said, Julie, she said, you just seem like you have it all together and you don't never go through nothing and nothing bothers you. And that very morning, he had drugged me through the house, and I thought he was going to kill me. And I was like, you have no idea. You have no idea. And I'm going to tell you what. Who delivered me out of all of this was the Father. He says he's the lover of our souls and the lifter of our heads. And he says that, yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I shall fear no evil, because I'm going to be with you. Because sometimes we put ourselves in situations that he don't mean for us to be in. But even in the midst of that, he will protect you. Because I'm telling you, there were so many times when I thought that man was going to kill me. But had it not been for God's hand on my life, I don't think I would have made it out. I don't think I would have made it out. Or my mom would be gone right now. Because, like I said, I don't want to get into too many of the details of the situations. But there was so much stuff that was done, like, to break me, to break my spirit, to break my mind. But I'm telling you, get out today. Make a plan to get out. Pray for strength. Ask God to give you the strength to leave, the peace of mind to leave, the protection to leave. Ask him to help you walk away from each other without violence and for him to stay away from you. I know this video is like 30 minutes long. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. But I'm passionate about this, and I just want you guys to know that there's hope. If you're in that situation, talk to somebody, tell somebody, pray. You know, let somebody know that can help you, because he needs help and so do you. And if you have babies, you need to do this for your babies. You need to. Y'all have a blessed day.